Well, here's the problem with that. On the website, we have the sounds of the ships that Meier and his wife recorded in an open field.
I've heard it.
Yeah, it's there, and it was so booming and so loud that 15 witnesses came from around the countryside, including a plainclothes policeman. And the recording actually lasts, the full recording lasts over 40 minutes. The snippet we have on the website is probably about 3 minutes long. Now, here's the beauty of this, and we even, now on my articles page, we've posted an overview of the sound analysis on this. They could not, this was taken to 2 different sound labs, and there are, I can give you the skinny on the people who were analyzing it.
What did the sound lab say?
Oh, okay. I'll bring that right here, and I'll kind of give you guys a little overview, and then anybody that wants, they can, read the full thing. But here's what they said was, let's see if I can zoom down. Basically, they found that there were 32 or more discrete frequencies in a random and constantly shifting mix that ranged from 4 to 2170 hertz, but varied on average between 470 and 1452 hertz, almost okay, won't worry about that. The amplitude of the frequencies was also constantly changing, whereby the dominance altered. And then I go on to talk about the wave shape and all this stuff. Basically what they're saying was, with any technology, including synthesizers, they could not duplicate the sounds. And part of what was remarkable in these constantly shifting and interfacing sounds was 24 of them were in the audible range. 8 of them could only be detected with spectrum analyzers and oscilloscopes. These were recorded outdoors with birds chirping and crickets in an open field, yet you had 24 audible sounds. 8 of the sounds were a frequency range that you could only see the patterns of them or pick them up on that kind of technology.
Well, I'm just a talk show host, but it doesn't seem to me that a little Swiss fellow living in a rural community could put together a hoax of the quality that would draw quotes from people like Malin on the photographs, scientists on the metallic pieces that were given, and the audio recordings and all the rest of it. I just, sitting here, it just doesn't seem very probable unless somebody with a great deal of knowledge chose Billy Meier in league with him in this hoax. It just doesn't seem like Billy Meier would be capable of pulling this off. What do you think, Michael?
Well, I'd agree with you, especially the joke here, if you will, is he's done it all with the proverbial one arm not tied behind his back, but one arm missing. And I'm talking about the skeptics and their failure to even come close to duplicating. They've made a very large mistake because by being so obstinate and unprofessional and quite frankly unethical, they just create more attention for the case. And ultimately, both CFI West and the amazing Randy are going to have to pay, if they're honorable people, they're going to have to pay the money they claim to have put up for the challenge. But Randy recently sent an email. He's now withdrawing from the argument. He's letting other people do it. So there's really a reason for all this. And before we get on to it, I wanted to take one more moment, if I could, on the sound evidence, because there is something here so that anybody that's sitting out there, and I've gotten a few emails here I'm watching, and some are, this is nonsense, and I'm thinking, well, that's a great argument, but how do you address it? Now, here's the thing. In the sound analysis that Wendell Stevens had done, here's the following. Jim Delatoso, the research consultant, takes samples of the noise on these tapes to men named Peter Gimmer and Rick Copeland of Meier in San Francisco. They performed tests in the audible range from 20 hertz to 2,000 hertz.
Okay.
They found 24 characteristic frequencies within the audible range and 8 outside of it. All 32 frequencies concurrently at different amplitudes and volumes. All 32 tones are somehow produced simultaneously. In a time matrix, the amplitude of some frequencies increases while that of others decrease. Mm-hmm. It was observed that the amplitude periodically increased by about 50 decibels and then decreased by about 40. At other times, it was just the opposite, which produced the characteristic beat that was audible. Other normal sounds were audible on the recording, but there were no sounds of a tone-on-tone tape dubbing. All frequencies were clear and stable, and they were regularly lined up along the frequency scale. So then they take a portion of the recordings and they give them to another guy, Robin Shellman, an undersea sound technician. He studied them with a spectrum analyzer that was built by Spectrodynamics in San Diego. Now we're dealing with a one-armed farmer here and a cassette tape recorder.
Yeah.
Okay. What he found that the sounds must have been produced by a rotating device. And the high-speed device produced a sound that began at 520 hertz and increased in steps up to 990 hertz, only to decrease. They go on with this whole thing about the sounds, how they reappear, they disappear, they're very strong.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. And they conclude that it must have been produced by a rotating device.
Rotating, and then the thing is, they say that there's so much into this. Our people can read this on the website.
Okay.
And
all right. What about other people having seen these craft?
Yes,
obviously, if there are craft in the sky in that area, then so you're saying there's well over 100
well
others.
over 100 people, and not just in that area, even in other countries, who then would write to Meier because they either saw and or photographed.
No. I'm talking about the same craft at the same location that Billy saw them.
There's about 100 people there. I've spoken to 12. There's 4 other photographers I've talked to, either all of them or 3 of them. There's one guy, I was over there when I was over last year. He told me the year before he and 15 other people were outside, and I talked to some of the other people, and they all said the same thing. In broad daylight, 2 of the ships came and hovered over the center, high up in the sky, and danced around. They took photographs for 30 minutes. To them, what we have to understand is to them, the UFO part is old news. For us, we're still fascinated with the ships they came in, like the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and the Columbus story. This isn't about the ships they came in. This is about us and our survival, but we're gonna move to that. But it's fair questions, and it's still to get back to the question about me. Yes, I sell this DVD. I want people to have it because, quite frankly, when we open up what this is about, I think some people may understand that my feelings that this is truly about our future survival are genuine feelings on my part.
This concerns the message, of course.
Yeah.
And we're about to get to that, but we've got plenty of time intentionally, and I'm not trying to be mean to you in any way. I'm just trying to hit you with
into it.
Hard questions. Now, you've got actually written here that there's, past the evidence that we've talked about, there's even a higher standard of proof that meets, your words, legal and scientific standards.
That's correct.
Explain.
Sure. Remember I mentioned to you the contact reports, and these were the transcripts of documents that Meier started to publish in 1975, originally in German, and he disseminated them, and they were available not only in Switzerland but in Germany and other places throughout Europe. By about 1980, I believe, they had the rough English translation that I came into my possession in 1986. Now, the man who gave them to me had them in his possession for at least a couple years. So the likelihood that it's true that by about 1980 or 81 the English translations were available, it holds water. Now, let's look at exactly what you've asked me. In these documents, I also said to you that there was very interesting information. And what that information constituted was a specific scientific and world event-related information of the nature of wars, assassinations, earthquakes, terrorist activities, scientific discoveries, a broadband spectrum of unique and specific information covering a wide variety of areas.
Why do you think this information, in other words, a sort of a whole slew of predictions in time to come were delivered to Billy? What was this for? Was the purpose of this to validate the information, period? Was that the idea?
Though they didn't exactly spell out why we're doing this, here's what I figured. And I'll come back to this so we can actually explore what that information was and satisfy some people's curiosity, hopefully. What was occurring was this. In my estimation, they created what is really a 30 to 48-year record of impeccably accurate information for the purpose of these times, specifically in my mind, that we would, once we came into contact and awareness of this material through various means, that people would then say, wait a minute, this information is impeccable. It's accurate.
Well, I guess, again, I'm asking,
why?
Do you think the information was delivered so that over time the record in history would reflect the accuracy of the predictions and underscore all the rest of the story? Yes,
exactly. And in underscoring the rest of the story, they would give us good reason not to swallow the story whole, but to seriously consider what they were going to tell us about now and what's coming out.
Sure, it's clear.